It's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. I realize that it's getting cloudy and we're having some overcast skies, so maybe I could get some pictures. So I'm going to try to do that, but it was also the sun was coming through that, so we'll see what will happen. And also have a few drops of rain, which is great, except it wouldn't be great for the camera. So we'll see how far we can get on this. But I did want to tell you that I did go see my sister, and it was just a wonderful time together, even though we worked and we got so dirty and filthy and tired, and it just was a mess. But you know what, she told me her kids had actually cleaned the front flower bed out from all the grass and weeds, and she said they asked her, why are we doing this? And she said, because Aunt Nancy is coming and we're going to put flowers in this bed. And that's exactly what we did. And her kids are so wonderful to me. They just seem to love me so much that I can just feel it. Don't you just love it when that's the case? And I did get a picture of how the garden looks. It's it's small, how it starts out small, and then it'll put its root down until the ground freezes, and then it'll just be dormant, sitting there until spring. And then when the warm weather warms the soil up, it'll start coming out from the bottom, from the root upward, and hopefully it's going to be beautiful for her. I put the tall Laura phlox closest to the house, and then a next little row of white ballerina yarrow, and then on either end of the front flower bed we put mums. I'm not sure what color they are. I think though they're in the like mauve pink color scheme, and so I hope that will be the case, because it's kind of all in the cool colors that I have in the front of her house, and I think it's going to look really great. I'm certainly hoping it will. We were excited, both of us, even though neither one of us probably had any business trying to garden. It's just too physical for people with diabetes, even though it also is a help for us, because I know that, and arthritis in my case, because if I didn't do the garden, I'm pretty sure my fingers and anything with a joint in it would just lock in and set up like it was in concrete. So it's very hard, but it's also very rewarding. But I can say that now because the weather is cooler and it's nice to be in the garden. But these days are few and far between. A little bit in spring and a little bit in fall, and then you just have, of course, the winter is cold, but the summers are so hot. Nobody wants to be out in that. But for those few gorgeous days that we had, the garden it's wonderful to have that place to be. And Jetty was saying, I don't really know what salvia is, but this is salvia, Jetty. This is Victorian blue salvia. It's not a perennial, but it does oftentimes drop little seeds, and sometimes I'll gather them up and plant them in the spring, because I always like to have some of this in the garden. And I have not heard when our first frost might be, but I feel so much better knowing that I have things ready when it does come. And I don't have everything ready, not by a long shot, but I do have a lot of it ready, and that makes me feel so much better. I brought in almost all of the houseplants. There are still a few that I'll need to bring in, and I'll definitely want to get some clippings of some of the coleus and try to save them through the winter. And I'm still excited that my garden is full, and it was full enough that I got Jetty's little front garden started with just clippings from mine, and that's pretty exciting. And even though we had a wonderful little visit and trip, and we got something accomplished, and we also enjoyed being with each other. It was great. I wish we could do it more often, but I do know that won't happen because my garden keeps me so busy. I was actually in the process of cutting down all of my peonies, which I actually took her 3, and she's going to be so excited when they bloom, that big old bloom. She'll probably call me and tell me all about it, and I'll just be smiling on the other end of the phone. But the one thing I was going to tell you that did happen was that my husband fell hard right on his back, and it's kind of bothering him, or it is bothering him, so we're going to kind of watch it and see, and hopefully he doesn't have to go to the hospital or something. But anyway, I just hope it heals and heals quickly. And we're lucky, very thankful to the Lord that it didn't do something worse, like break his neck or his back, or so many things that could have happened. And I know we were watched over by the Lord, and I'm so thankful. Look at this lovely white chocolate snakeroot plant. When it's in bloom, it's just such a little fluffy white beauty. But I have got to get busy. There's so much to do before frost comes, and I'm still hoping we'll have some beautiful days, because we miss those all summer long. We get so sick of the heat that we think we don't really love our gardens anymore, that's enough of that. But then when it comes back to the beauty of the garden in a beautiful atmosphere, and the coolness, and everything changes. Thank goodness. And then it'll be time to get ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and those are very, very busy seasons, or times of the year too. And I took my sister Jetty some of the Autumn Joy sedum, and it was kind of getting brown. I don't think she was too impressed with it, but I think she will be. When it's just a little mound of green, it's going to be beautiful. And then when it puts these blooms on fresh and new next end of the summer or fall, beginning of fall, she's going to love it. Of course, she could be like my neighbor that doesn't like these. She says they don't really bloom or do anything, but I think they do. I mean, this is a bloom. This is a beautiful bloom, and if the pollinators could vote, they would be on my side. And then this is just, that thick, succulent feel to it, and it's just, even without these, it makes a beautiful little mounding plant that just stays pretty all summer long until it gets even prettier with its beautiful bloom. My lantana did not do much this year, but it's sure looking pretty right now. Just these few little blooms. I love this color scheme. And I don't know if I can, but I would love to get some of this pretty purple alyssum started in Jetty's flower bed, where it would fill up the ground cover underneath her other flowers, where it would be that ground cover and just be pretty. And besides, I was realizing I don't have a lot in her front flower bed that blooms in the spring, although the nepeta that we put in the pots will, the catmint, but I definitely want to make sure she has spring blooming flowers, because in the wintertime you kind of think, will it ever be pretty again? And then the first spring blooms and you're back into garden excitement. And this little grouping is so pretty. It was like one or maybe 2 of these little, they're a cousin to a coleus, and I can't think of the name of them right now, but they're so pretty with their variegation, and I want to take some of this in it and try to keep it too. But it's just looked so pretty, and it started out so small that you could see everything in here, which there's a little squirrel down in there, and in the spring it had the bells of Ireland coming up all around it too. So when they started turning their yellow and then brown color and I took them out, this one just began to fill out and take over, as well as the little coleus that I think is so pretty. And I'll definitely still want to take up a bunch of bulbs that I haven't got any of my bulbs, I don't think, in yet. And I don't have a whole lot, which is actually good because it makes it a lot to do. But this is, of course, the pineapple lily. I think I pointed it out to you recently, but it makes just a pretty little greenery in the garden too. And I did get some of my coleus seed to take in, and there's some more ready too. I can tell these have got brown, and I'm going to take some of the seed ones, the brown ones that have the seed heads in, or seeds in, and I'm going to put those in my little envelopes, and then I'll probably cut the rest of these off, and I think this might show off a little bit more for us. And I told you that I was fixing up some envelopes with the pictures on them so that I could put my coleus seeds in here, and that's what I have done. There's coleus seed in each one, and I hope to get some more, but these are the only ones that had turned brown already. But I have my envelopes ready in case I do have them, because you know you just can't do it all at once as much as we would love to. Twiggle our noses and get it all done like Bewitched from the old TV show. It just doesn't happen. And I did take Jetty 3 crepe myrtles. They're just the little seedlings. It'll take them a while to grow, but it may not take them very long. Some of them are slow growers, but some of them grow really fast. So hopefully she'll have beautiful little crepe myrtle trees in her garden in the backyard before long. We actually just took the things that we didn't fit in the front flower bed and put them around the perimeter of the back fence. And that should make it a beautiful little setting when they go out on their deck and look across at the yard. And I want to get Jetty some seed of this, and I think we could get some white too. The pink and white look good together, but I was thinking of getting her some pink ones to go in her front flower bed. I'm going to try to take her some of these seeds, or send them to her in the mail, or take them to my sister's when we do Thanksgiving, so she could actually put the seeds down and leave them in the garden so that they can get their cold period, and then they'll come up in the spring. They're a little late coming up than the other plants, and they don't bloom until late summer or early fall. So, and that's another thing. I started to say, well, I want to get her some things that I know will bloom in the spring, so that when spring comes, she'll start getting excited quickly and not have to wait till like the 4th of July, because that's when the tall phlox bloom. That's when even later is when the asters bloom. And then the yarrow, it will bloom in the spring, but it's later spring. And so I just want to make sure that she has something pretty there, like dianthus, if I can find some perennial dianthus to put in there, and definitely some of this. And of course this is gomphrena, strawberry fields, and pink and white. And if she feels like it, and it's not too much, I believe she'll even go to some of these pretty coleus colors. These are the small ones that just trail so beautiful, and then the others that just take over and keep going and going, and by the end of the season are just little giants. But they're so colorful, so beautiful. Never have to wait for a bloom, because their foliage is their stunning beauty. And my Gomphrena globe flower is mostly red because it's the first one that I had, and it's the first one to start putting down seeds and coming up for me. But I would like it to do this for her, at least in some areas, and I'm thinking they're in the front underneath the taller plants, or they'll just come up through them. And it is so wonderful to have weather cool enough to feel like getting out here and doing this, because who wants to do this work that's going to make you sweaty and feel terrible when the heat is on? I just much prefer to do it. I don't mind to do it so much when it's cool enough. You can still enjoy the garden while you're doing the work. And Jetty, I definitely want you to have some roses too, because they'll be a thing that will look great in the spring, and they'll just keep on putting there'll be smaller showings probably of the bloom, but they'll keep coming as the weather when you have a cool down with the rain or just anything, they'll pop open and be beautiful. Of course, some more so than others. And this is that Saffron rose that I love so much. It's so full. It's so pretty pink. And then this other one is a different brand, but I still like it, but it doesn't bloom as prolifically or as big most usually, but it's still very pretty, so I still like it. I even like it that I wanted the same for each side of this, but I kind of like it that it's a little different. And the Russian sage that I got her had just kind of, I don't know, it's wilted, it was going dormant, and it just didn't show any of its beauty, but it's still got a root, so when it starts coming up and gets to be a pretty bush with all this little fluffy bloom, I think she's going to love that too. So I always think the garden is going to look bare for the beautiful fall days, because I take out the peonies. I'm hopefully going to take out the iris, but I won't have to do those. This is another of the fall blooming irises, but I won't have to take out the iris blades until later on. I did that too early one year, and they just grew right back and had to do it twice. That's a job too. But for the peonies, I'm going to try to get all of those back, and then there'll be big old bald spots or bare spots in the garden. But it's worth it, so much worth it to get all that stuff, as much of it as I can get done. I know that I won't get it all done, so I'm not even going to attempt it really. But if I can just get the peonies all taken care of, and later on the iris, and then in the spring I'll get the rest of it done. We usually start early spring, like actually late winter. If there's good enough weather to, that's what we'll do, because it's so much easier to do it when the weather's a little too cool for you than it is to wait until it's too hot to get those jobs done. So right here is as far as I've gotten with my peony clippings. So, and I want to go all the way down the end of this row, and I'm not sure how many I have, but there's at least one on the other end, I think two. And then I did go ahead and trim this little lace vine, just the parts that were just splaying out everywhere. And I'm still going to try and see if I can't put some of that plastic fencing around it and see if that will help, which it may not. It definitely helps for my honeysuckle vine, because it wants to go upward toward the sun, and so does this one. And I've had to clip off the top of it too, but it'll also, because it's too shaded over here for it. It does get some sun, but it also tries to reach outward to where it can get more sun, and so it's just spraying out everywhere, both sides at the top. That's not going to work. It's going to be too hard to take care of it like that. I don't want that. So, see, I left my clippers out here, but I'm going to use those again here in just a little bit. At least that's the plan. I would love to finish up on the peonies today if I can. And my mums are definitely popping open all over. Look at these pretty color of mums. It's kind of trying to be a ground cover, though I don't really want it all everywhere, but I do love that color. I also surely want to get some of this for my sister in the spring because this is such a pretty little, I think it's called Plum Dazzled sedum, and it's a pretty little moundy plant like the other sedums, except it's smaller, but it's perfect for those little pots where you just need a little splash of color and you can move it around, put it where you want it. So I don't move a lot of stuff around. I like to just leave it in the spot. But sometimes I do, because sometimes you do just want that little spot of color somewhere and you can pick it up and put it there. But it will be not much trouble at all. Just put it in the pot and it'll come back every year. Might have to clip a few of the ones that just really got scraggly looking, and it'll just fill itself back out and be beautiful. Doesn't take a lot of water or anything extra. And I'm seeing this little mum is also opening. More mums that are opening up. And I don't want to forget to show you this little rose. Just one little rose, but isn't it a little beauty? And for Jetty, I just want to also show her how bright this sedum can be. Just because her other one, I dug it up and it browned up on the top, and I don't think she really realized how pretty it can be in the garden. It does light up the fall garden and the late summer garden sometimes. And this row on the fence side has several peonies down it too, so I want to try to get all of that taken care of today if I can. And I just now noticed that my little mum on this back fence row is beginning to open its blooms. This beautiful redhead coleus, and it hasn't even put me up any seeds, and it's bigger than most of my coleuses are, but I wish it would put me up some seed. I will try to save some of it just by a clipping, but I have a hard time saving the redhead for some reason. It just doesn't usually last through the winter, but I'll try. If I get that chance, I'm always going to do so much, and sometimes it's so much more than I can get done. Look at this beautiful lantana here. I love both the yellow and pink and the orange, or creamsicle and pink. Isn't that a beautiful little plant? These are annuals. They have to be replanted every season. But I still love them, and I love them more than the perennial. I started out with the perennial ones, but they scatter and go everywhere, and then the birds scatter the other ones that didn't, just fall down and put them everywhere, so they became invasive too quickly for me. So I tried to get those out and just have the annual lantanas. And I so hoped this little pot would get pretty. And here now at the end of the season, it's certainly trying to. And Silver Falls dichondra. So pretty. Always love it with either a Dusty Miller, or this is the Blue Cast Icicles plant, and they just kind of bring it all together when you put them in the same pot with other plants. More of the redhead coleus is such a favorite for me to be in the garden. And of course, you know I love all the coleus. I just love color and even the texture. Look at these ruffled little foliage on this coleus. And this is a new little plant for me, but it's actually, as it's getting older, it's looking more like I think they call this silk stocking or fishnet. But it's pretty. When it first started out, it was more these colors right here. And my little Mexican flame vine blooms. They didn't put on a lot of blooms for me this time, but the ones that did were very pretty. So I'm still having thoughts about this that I don't really know what I want to do with it, because if I put seed in here, and I was thinking about maybe putting some alyssum in here and just letting it come back each year, but the thing is, you really never know if it's going to or not. It may in spots, like this is so spotted. This one side looks pretty good filled out, but not, you know, this is not the look I want for sure. But then I think about putting perennials in here, and sometimes they take over. I had strawberries and vinca vine in here, and of course the vinca vine took right over, and then it started taking over everything. It just, you know, jumped its little track there, and or its little boundary, and just kept going. It's going everywhere. That was such a mess to pull all that root out. I never want to do that again. But I would like to have something pretty in here that will come back and be pretty, not invasive or skimpy on its little showing, where it can just fill this out. I'll keep trying, and hopefully I'll get there at some point. But I'm still not sure what to put in here. And I do love this little licorice plant. I used to never get this because I just put a Dusty Miller in when I wanted this color. And I have other trailing plants, but none that trail like this. Oh my goodness, it doesn't quit. It keeps going until frost. It's so pretty too. I wish it would have filled out more at the top so it would really shine for you, but even if it doesn't, it's still just this part of it is beautiful. And I'm smelling something like a skunk, and I certainly do not want to come up on one of those out here either. So I hope I don't. I think I'll venture a little farther out here though, so I can get a little bit more of this, because even though if you've seen the post, you've seen them so many times, but they've never been this big. They've never been this full. They'll keep on looking great right up until the frost comes and takes them away. And I also actually would like to try to save this little pot because it has my double impatiens in it, but I have a hard time saving those. We'll see how that will go, but it seems to always be worth a try. And this little Torrenia, oh, it has done so well. I've never had one to do this well, which of course makes me want to have this kind of weather every spring and summer. And while I was looking at this from the side, I couldn't help but see this one beautiful little bacopa bloom. It did make it. So, but you know, it needed to make it a whole lot bigger and fill out a whole lot more to actually flow in with this licorice plant. But it's always worth a try to see what you can get to flourish and what maybe doesn't make it so well in the garden. So my begonias are looking great in the house, and then I have these beautiful little coleus and different house, or just different little plants. This is just a clipping that I clipped off and put in there, but it's doing good, doing well. And this is a calibrachoa, which is how I usually do these little mini petunias. That's so terrible. But it's filling up the area until frost comes. I actually had hopes that maybe with getting a little more sunlight where I have it now, that it might come out of that some, but it's not looking like it's going to. But you know, never give up on your plants, because honestly, sometimes they come out of things you never would have thought they would, but not always. And this is another little plant I will want to take inside, but I'm kind of waiting because I want to save some of these coleus seed of this that's called a painter's palette. So, and it is making some seeds, so as soon as they turn brown, I'll try to get those in an envelope and save them to to start from seedlings to start seedlings from seeds next year. And the day I visited my sister, I got to be there on William's 10th birthday. And when Ty came home from school, he used one hand to guide his bike and the other to wave, big wave, hollering, "Aunt Nancy," like I was some kind of wonder. And I'll try to remember that all my life. Such a sweet child. All of them. I love them. And after I took a few things inside, this is open a little bit more, and I wanted to show you, when I showed you this pineapple lily, I told you there was another one back here, but we couldn't see it because it had something in front of it, but there it is, and you can see it did not do anything like this one because the plants I had in front of it blocked it from the sun. But it's open now where I can get in there and dig that up too, and so I still have two that I can try again next spring. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.